What do you think, guys? Well, what do you think, guys? You know, a little bit of spit and polish and it'll be okay. We might spend a little time trying to clean it out a little bit here. Now, I know some of you are, you're looking at this like, holy smoke, that car is toast. And, you'd probably be right. The one advantage I've got on this car, unlike that thing, right? That's the only one on the place like this. This one, however, I have a couple of parts cars on this one. I've got another one that's just like this. I drug up, I've always been a fan of a 66 Impala. My mom and dad bought one new. And anyway, I've always been on the lookout for a 66, but I've never managed to drag home a 66. I've drug home 67, 68, 69, 70s, even had a 72. But the one thing I was good at is dragging home 67s. So I built my oldest one a two-door SS when he was in high school, and we've got that down in the barn, I guess we've got that down in the shop. It's out of the weather. It needs a little work after, having a high schooler drive it. Then I've got a regular two-door, and then I've got another SS two-door. So all in all, I've got, if we don't count my son's car as a parts car, I actually have another one like this, and I have two doors for parts. So the only piece of this whole puzzle that is going to be a problem, I believe, is the trunk lid. Both the trunk lids are toast. And I believe the trunk lid on the two-door hardtop is unique. So I'm on the lookout for a two-door hardtop or four-door hardtop trunk lid. Anyway, my daughter-in-law is a big fan of Supernatural, and if you folks don't know, this is a 1967 four-door hardtop Impala, and that is the car on the TV series Supernatural. And so she has been. I didn't even know I had this. I was focused on fixing the SS's. So anyway, my son was down the pasture, and he said, you have a couple of those things. Well, okay. So guess what? This is on the list for my daughter-in-law. And truth be told, it actually isn't that bad. We're going to set it on a... I've got the body off of one of the two doors, and so let me take you and show you the frame on it. So here's the frame off 67 two-door, and it's all complete. I just pulled the body off of it. This frame's actually in pretty good shape. That's kind of what we did. Went around looking at all the frames, picking the best one, the one that has the limited amount of rust. Here is your if you want trivia on 67 Impalas, and I believe 68s, the normal architecture on the rear end was a 3-bar setup, and so you got the two lower links, right? and you had an upper link. You can see it there. This one, however, this one has a 4-link, which was optional on these cars. It's interesting to me that you could get the 4-link without getting the 12-bolt. So this is not a 12-bolt in this car. This is a 10-bolt. Let me go show you the SS. It has the 12-bolt, but it doesn't have the 4-link. Interesting, interesting options. So let me go show you the SS. Hey, you guys that are paying attention, this is the car that's in the picture that's on the homepage of my YouTube channel. And I thought I had the back end up, and you really can't see it. Well, anyway, this car's got a 3-link in it, but it's got a 12-bolt in it. The frame I just showed you, that's the only frame I have that actually has the 4-link, and I had 2 12-bolts. The one in this car, and I forgot. I don't know where I came up with the other 12-bolt, but I had another Impala 12-bolt, and that is the rear end that I cut down to put in the 67 Camaro. The interesting thing about Impala 12-bolts is they have the big pinion bearing and the big axle bearing. If a regular car has the big pinion bearing but the small axle bearing, and a pickup has a big axle bearing and the small pinion bearing. In the Impala, you get both the big axle bearing and the big pinion bearing. In my case, however, for the Camaro, you know, I had to cut it off, and I ended up converting it to the small bearing, and just ordered factory 30 spline axles from, I think I got them from Mosier. I don't remember where I got them, but I ordered a set of new axles for it to fit the small bearing. Anyway, I don't know if you guys were interested in that, but so the 67 Camaro is for my granddaughter, and for those of you, you know, you go back to the 2024 projects video, and you can see what that car looked like. It was, I think it was in probably worse shape than the Impala I just brought in the yard. So we've still got some work to do on the Camaro, but it looks significantly better than it did when we when we drug it home. The gate's causing me some problem here. All right, so we got the Impala for my daughter-in-law. We got the Camaro for my granddaughter. We got the 67 Mustang. That's I'm a Chevy guy, but I like the Mustang. We've got the 67 Chevy short wide bed. You guys just saw me put together the put the Explorer frame on the 57, which was our old wheat truck. So you're probably getting the picture here that I may have been dragging cars home for a while. And that's, you know, that's true. I've been collecting parts for a long time. All right, so what we're going to do today is, first, I'm going to go ahead and clean this car out, and I'll show you. I'll come back when, you know, get some of the rat debris out of it. Well, I can tell you, folks, that was a chore. Man, oh man, this thing, I scooped and scooped and scooped and scooped. Anyway, let's have a look inside. So the passenger side needs a little love. Looks like the brace on that B-pillar probably needs to be reworked. On the driver's side, well, that's not so bad. I mean, relatively speaking. And the back floorboard on the driver's side, that's not so bad. Under the seat, you can tell I still got some cleaning. You know, the car looks like it's a mess, but that that was a lot of effort here just to get it to this point. I spent pretty much all day yesterday. That's sad to say. I spent pretty much all day yesterday just getting the doors open. You know, we managed to get this driver's side door off here. So this door was off. So that allowed me to get in there. But these other doors, holy smoke! It's been a while since I've had some door latches give me as much trouble as these did. If you notice, I have all the door hinges off, the door latches. And the reason I got those door latches off, I don't have any idea whether the Fords are like this or not. But Chevys have a nasty tendency for the latches to not work. And what happens is this rain, the little rubber strip that goes here. I forgot what that's called. Anyway, water gets down in there and it rusts these stinking hinges. This trim right here. It gets down here and it rusts these hinges. And I don't know if it's just the way that the GM designed them or whatever, but those hinges rust up and there literally is no good way to get into this car. Hey buddy cat, what are you doing? There's no way to get into this car unless you get that latch open. Or let me rephrase that. There's no way that I've ever found. Well, looks like I haven't got this latch out, but it's unscrewed. And by the way, it's easier most of the time. Just drill those screws out and call it done. But you can see the lip. You just can't actually get in there, and you don't get access to the back without some cutting or something. So let me open this up here. What I ended up doing to get this one was a pain. I bet I got 4 hours in this stinking thing. I grabbed a light. There we go. You see that hole right there? And you can see I kind of egg-shaped this hole here. I had to drill that hole so I could get what was really a screwdriver. We'll call it a chisel at this point. I had to get I had to get something in there to take a hammer and knock the lock. So the way and I'll show you, when we get back in the shop, I'll show you, but there's a latching lever that keeps the claw, which wraps around this hinge. There's a latching lever that keeps that from rotating and keeps the door from coming open. Anyway, that thing was rusted up. Now, on the other ones, with enough WD-40 and, a lot of wiggling and a lot of, I had a nail bar in here, just not prying, just wiggling, right? Just keep wiggling. I was able to get those other two doors open. This one, however, was unhappy. I ended up having to persuade that latch to come open. Now, sort of to wrap up a few things we didn't talk about. You see that big dent right there on the bumper? And if I zoom in there, you see that missing chunk right there? I don't know what this car hit, but it took out the front spindle. You see, that's the ball joint. It's supposed to be attached to that A-arm down there. And it took out a pretty good chunk of the frame right here. Looks like it sheared the body bolt off right there. So I'm not sure what they hit, but it took out a pretty good bite on this thing. So That's one of the reasons why we're going to stick that other frame under this thing. Like I said yesterday, I should have all the parts for this car. I think I even have all the SS badging if we want to make it an SS. The rest of the car, you know, there's some rust here, rust around the fenders. Interesting thing is I think that all happened in the past year. Probably didn't help that the trunk lid was off of it. But relative to these old Chevys, the trunk lid looks pretty good. And underneath the window, if you're not used to the old Chevys, on these 60s Chevys, this area underneath the windshield here, this area always rusts out. At some point, I knocked the roof back out. At some point, some of the grandkids, or I've had this long enough, it could have been my kids, jumped on the roof, and so we're gonna have to do some work on the roof. This is one of those cases I'm probably just gonna cut the roof off one of the other ones. But all in all, I don't know if you guys, if you've been watching and you saw the project video, what's coming, you know, the projects I got on task, you saw a picture of the 67 Camaro I'm working on. And this car is in a lot better shape than that Camaro was. I'm kind of happy. Once I got the 2 feet of mouse house out of this thing, and it's not all the way out, but once I got the 2 feet of mouse house, got the seats out of it, this car's not in bad shape. Firewalls are still good. The doors aren't bad. Not really dented. I suspect if I hunt down the gauge cluster for this thing, because I took all of those out, I've got those stashed. I suspect this thing didn't have that many miles on it, relatively speaking, but the front end was mashed. All right, you guys might be asking, okay, why did I decide to bring another project on when I got plenty of them going right now? Well, this is a car. My daughter-in-law really wants one of the supernatural cars, and I've been working for about 1.5 years to get a title for this thing. Anyway, that all came through last week, and so to complete the process, I've got to get this over to the tag agent, and they need to verify the VIN number. So I've got it on the trailer. My plan is to take it over to the tag agent. Also, you know, I've told you before, I really like things on wheels so they can be moved around. So I'm gonna get this body jacked up and get it set on that frame I showed you. That way it's on wheels. Then we'll just have to work it in little at a time until just like all the rest of them. Right now my goal is to get, number 1, get the title in my hands, and number 2, get it on wheels so I can move it around. bit of flashlight. What do you think, guys? That look a little better? Kind of looks like a car again to me. I gotta keep looking for a trunk lid. Well, like I said, I don't think there's too much rust. While we close this out, let me go show you those hinges. If you happen to have an old GM car, you might appreciate this. There we go. How about that? So when you move the handle, you see that bar right there that's moving, and it's part of this bar, and it's part of that piece right there, and it all pivots on that center stud right there. So when you pull the handle, it moves that, and what that is the lock to keep the bear claw, if you will, from moving. So if you have the door shut, right? You have the door shut. If you don't release that lever, you're not getting that thing to move. So you have to release that lever and allow that, to come loose so the door opened. Trouble I was running into yesterday was that lever was froze up, and there's really no good way to get to that. You saw, I think I showed you when we were looking at the car, I drilled a hole through the side of the door so I could get a screwdriver in there and basically come in from this angle and drive that latch in that direction. And as it moved a little bit and kind of the angle changed, I was able to go down through the side of the window. But if you don't get that moved, you're not getting that door open. There is no way to get in there to get to this mess. The screws that hold this latch in are on the outside of the door. So, never had one that was this ornerous. This is one of those cases, you guys know, I don't like buying new parts, but I'm gonna go hunting for some new door latches. And if I can't find them, this thing is it's gonna shine like a baby's butt before it goes back in there. Okay. All right. Well, this wasn't what I planned on doing, doing this weekend. I'd still like to get the bed in this international, but any of you folks out there that, let's see, well, basically, if you live between the Rockies and the Mississippi, there was a lot of nasty weather last night. It had lots of tornadoes. I haven't heard the extent of it, but it was some pretty nasty weather. So without knowing how the weather was gonna shake out, I didn't want to get started cutting that bed out and getting this thing in here. I got the court order for that Impala, so that I can get a title for it. I got it Friday. So, okay, well, let's do an Impala. So that's what we did this weekend. I'm a little surprised it's really not as bad as I was anticipating. That's a pleasant surprise. And as I said earlier, if you found one like this and you want a supernatural and you found one like this, I'm not so sure that it's in your best interest to get it. This car works for me because I've got multiple parts cars. I can tell you, buying all the stuff to put a car together gets expensive real fast. So if this was all I started with, I'm not sure I'd start with it. But I've got lots of parts for a 67 Impala. So that should work out. I appreciate you guys watching. If you stayed this long, man, I really appreciate it. Make a comment, share the video. And until next time, when maybe we can finally get a bed in an international. Random Rod Shop is going to call it a day and go start editing.